have a water bottle?
And you're live.
All right. Am I live?
Yeah, you're live right now.
Live.
Live on the internet.
Live at Federico. Live at Federico Advanced. Cool. Welcome, everybody. Let me just snap that up. Cool, cool. All right. I think I'm set and I'm square.
Cool.
All right. For those who don't know, my name is Adam Federico. I am a creative director here at Federico Beauty as well as AJF Salon. Give you a little bit of backstory about Federico. It might be a name that you began to hear more and more of in the past year because of the lovely world of social media. Let's see, Federico College of Hairstyling, I believe is how it started out. Little backstory, my grandfather and his brother were barbers from Des Moines, Iowa, and they moved out to the Central Valley of California back in the 40s with the idea and the dream to open up cosmetology schools up and down the Central Valley. My grandfather's brother passed away in a plane crash back in, I believe it was the very early 50s, maybe like 1952. I think my dad might be watching. He can type in on the comments and correct me on all my inaccuracies on the historical aspect of it. Yeah, and at that point, you know, my grandfather's brother's wife took over for him. And at that point, my grandfather kind of they split the schools they had. There was multiple schools, and my grandfather took a set amount of schools, and his brother's wife had took another set of schools, and the company kind of split. So there's you know, Federico colleges, but they were different corporations or companies, if you will. My grandfather continued on running the schools. My father got into the beauty school at a very young age of probably standing, pushing a broom. And that's how it goes down if you're a Federico. You just kind of grow up in the school. And it's pretty much like your, you know, kinder care, if you will, you know, for the young Federicos. And I think at in his late teens, he got into the school and helping my grandfather manage the schools and so forth. And you know, he met my lovely mom, and my mom got involved in helping my dad run the schools and so forth, and doing like financial aid and you know. And let's see, my grandfather retired in the mid to late 90s. At that point, my father and mother ran the schools for quite some time, and they had this dream of, you know, taking the school and taking multiple campuses and, you know, consolidating it into, you know, one large campus. And they did that back in 2004. And I think I'm pulling these numbers out of a hat right now. 2004. And, you know, they opened the school where we're at currently, and they opened up this really large campus style school that was about 23,000 square feet, and we teach cosmetology and aesthetics, and I think even at that time, I don't think we had a nail program, manicuring, but you know, with the idea and the dream just to kind of build this one really kind of elite campus kind of setting. And with that being said, you know, my mom actually passed away in 2006. Lots of numbers, and you know, at that time my dad began to kind of step away from it, and you know, I have two brothers, and we were all involved within the school at different facets through the, you know, the past 10 to 15 years, and he began to turn over ownership to my brothers and I. So currently now, the way the school is ran is I have an older brother by the name of Jeremy. He is our current day-to-day president. Non-hairdresser, very analytical, number-driven dude, which is perfect for this industry. And then I've got a little brother named Joseph, and he's a CFO, and he makes sure that the ship's running tight. And like I say, I stand as a creative director of the school, which is good because I'm definitely more of a creative being and have never been really good with numbers per se, like most hairdressers out there. And if I was left to my own devices, I always said I would have sunk the ship, you know, when I first got my hands on it. So that's a little backstory about Federico. But I guess the big thing about it is recently, in the past couple of years, we had been going through this really large expansion. So I said we had 23,000 square feet, and we expanded out to an additional 20,000 square feet, and took on what we got 43,000 square feet now. And so within that space, we upped our game. We began a barbering program, because we all know barbering is huge right now within the industry. And we have this, behind us here, we have this massive 5,000 square foot theater space, this beautiful advanced training facility, all these different little nooks and crannies of the buildings to host, you know, education on all different levels. You know, I guess to say it would be, my grandfather started the dream. My mom and my dad came in and definitely put their stamp on it. And now my brothers and I are taking the company, and we're trying to really put our own stamp on it. And I think the stamp that we're doing is we're still running our basic core, you know, programs, but trying to bring education back at a higher level. So to a level of the outside hairdresser, the licensed professional. And that's where our advanced education facility comes in. So Federico Advanced, we call it, it's an independent education house. It's non-manufacturer driven. And the way we've been working it is we've been, you know, bringing out different guest artists from month to month, starting this past April of 2013. And, you know, so for every month you can see a different artist teaching a different possible methodology. They may be affiliated with a manufacturer, they may not be. So really, you can come to Federico every month and get a different taste of, you know, education, and not like, you know, be driven the same core message as if you're going to either a manufacturer or just a basic education driven company that was, you know, driving their education methodology to you. So we've kind of created this house of independence, you know, for education. And that's what we're trying to do right now and what we've been building up on. So that's what Federico Advanced is about. We're about the independent hairdresser, we're about the independent hairdresser movement, and we're just trying to give a home to you know, these people. And I'm going to go back to, you know, we had Douglas McCoy out back in I think July of last year, and he was a really great guy, and I resonated with Douglas on a ton of different levels, from music to like independent, you know, independent movements and so forth, and subcultures. But he kind of used this reference, and it stuck with me because I really liked it. And he's like, you know, Federico's like the sub pop of, you know, the sub pop of music labels. Well, Federico is to that of the hair industry. So, you know, Sub Pop was this, or it still is, this huge music label that has really pushed a lot of independent bands out there through the past couple of decades now. So, you know, like I say, we're just trying to give a home for people to share their voice, wherever that voice may be coming from. So that's what Federico Advanced is. That's what Federico is. And like I say, my name is Adam Federico from AJF and Federico. It's a lot of Federico. Hey, at the end of the night, if there's one thing you'll be sleeping or dreaming about, it'll be Federico. And if you're not, I haven't done my job, you know? Look at that. I already need my first drink of water. And with all this...
What's your model's name?
Isela.
Isela.
Yeah. I gotta thank, you know, pop in, Josh. I gotta thank Mr. Flowers, Mr. XO for setting all this up, joining our team over here, and obviously with this gentleman's, you know, knowledge and nerdiness, thank you, his nerdiness. He's getting paid to be nerdy. He's like stoked right now, you know what I mean? To geek out all day and take pictures and do videos and whatnot. It's really given us the opportunity to put Federico at a much larger scale and level. So I really believe, you know, this gentleman here and him joining our forces has really helped get that name out there. So before I jump into my model, Isela. I'm gonna kill it. Isela.
All night. You're gonna be correcting them all night.
Isela. You're like, oh, just call me Adam. No, Isela. you know, I gotta thank HairBrain for being a proud sponsor, you know, of our show here, our live stream. I mean, it's huge to us. I think we're really stoked on that. And through the evening, feel free to tweet questions at Federico Advanced or leave comments below on YouTube. And we are live every first and third Thursday, and then every second and fourth Thursday you can find Mr. XO and his weapon of choice, right?
Right. Live.
From Federico.
I love the sign.
The sign is awesome. The sign actually goes back, and it's kind of cool because we dug the sign out of the storage area. You guys see the storage area, it's like my dad's haven. And anyway, the sign was like up on this thing, and it was down, and we yanked it and pulled it down here one day. And I thought the sign dated back further than it does. And actually, I think my dad says it only dates back to like the late 80s, man. 89, something like that. So, all right. So my haircut. All right. More than just a haircut. You know, I think haircuts come and go, right? You know, from season to season, trend to trend, but what don't come and go are techniques. So more than just a haircut tonight, I'm just gonna share different techniques and the way I approach, you know, the craft. And Isela?
Yes.
Isela here has an amazing amount of hair. It's got this wave to it, it's a little wiry, but it's definitely controllable. And you know, if you look at the back of it, she's got this mass. It's got a really kind of like mild layer running through right now. I'm gonna just open that up with utilizing the feather plie. She has this side bit that was previously like cut away, so I'm gonna go ahead and scissor over comb that back down. Then I'm gonna work this fringe area, and I'm gonna cut that with a scissor. So like I said, through the evening, or the next hour, hopefully, if I just shut up and cut, what I plan to do is just to show you some different techniques and, you know, ways to use different tools on one head of hair. And that's really honestly how I approach my craft all day, every day in the salon. I am a salon hairdresser. I stand behind the chair 3 days a week, and I teach a day on Tuesdays to my junior stylist team because I have, like I said, a big core belief of education. And then I sit in meetings all day on Thursdays, which is my favorite day of the week, right? Meetings all day, it's just not my, you know, thing, but you do what you've got to do, you know, to make it come to life. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start on this left side panel, and I'm going to reestablish the grown out, you know, I think what may have been some scissor over comb or some clipper work, and sit that back down into the shape of her head, just following the round of the head. I don't really want to build up a flat shape or anything graduated. I'm going to come up and around, follow right around that parietal, just to keep it like, you know, round, soft, and feminine. And then I'm planning to come back behind this mastoid area here, and I'm going to begin to go through and just begin to open up the layering by utilizing the feather plie and, you know, doing some tipping through it, as well as shortening up the layer through the upper crown, but trying to keep as much of the length as possible, and then come back into this front area pretty much from this left hand point off into this right hand corner of her brow, and work a really long, soft kind of fringe that'll just kind of like work across a really low kind of a bridge of her nose, covering an eye, sweeping back seamlessly into this length. And the trick for me tonight is to make it not look too much like a bi-level, because we're missing one side completely. If I take off too much of this front section, it can definitely begin to look bi-level-y. And I want a diffuser, and I don't even know if I'm gonna need a diffuser with these bulbs blaring at me, you know? All right, so I'm gonna go into it. And to start off, and I know I'm a geek on tools, as Josh might be a geek on, you know, his tools of photography stuff, as well as I know he's a geek on his hair cutting tools, but I've got to pay credits to obviously the white Sessibone 20 exclusive HairBrain comb, and I'm coming in with my Nick STS.
Oh, you're busting out the Nicks.
Oh, I got two of them out. I got the QX for the later series. So yeah, the STS, which you guys can find on hairbrain.pro and, you know, purchase. And I am a firm believer that a craftsman is only as good as his tools, not to sound like a Home Depot commercial, but, and here, this is where Josh is going to begin yelling at me to lower my elbows. So as I scissor or comb this down, I've got some basic principles on theory in scissor or comb, and it's like a good relationship. I said a good relationship here. Which way? Right here?
Yeah, there we go.
Cool. Her hair is definitely pokey, so this is going to get nice and short to sit into the shape of the head. And that is the spine of the comb is obviously lifting the hair up and away from the shape of the head. And I want to keep the steel blade of the scissor as parallel and as in line to the spine of the comb as possible. So they never want to leave each other. So I look at the scissor and the comb as being in a relationship or
turn it towards this way,
married to one another.
There we go.
Right?
Dark hair.
Dark hair on the face. Clean that off. I'm going to rub off all your makeup early on. I'll just leave it there.
You gonna make it?
Yeah. Who's doing the makeup? I'll spin back this way. See if I can reach around. Okay. All right. So as I begin to hit this like frontal hairline, I always like to come back on it at a light diagonal. And you notice that my scissor work, I like to go in with my scissors kind of working in a circular motion, but every time I close that scissor, I'm right there at the spine of that comb, working up and around. And as I said, you guys have any questions, please feel free to comment in or to tweet us, because I will probably begin to run out of things to talk about. Let's talk a little bit about Federico Advanced. You know, this last weekend here we had Gerard Scarpesi out. You all know Gerard, right? Co-founder of HairBrain, master stylist with Arrojo. He was out spending a few days with us. And the way we generally like to work our advanced education is we'll do a couple of days of education. We do one day where we open it up and invite a group of our students in from Federico. And he did what were we calling that class? It was like a classic scissors class. So he really just focused on utilizing the tool of the scissor, working with body posture, building different techniques and shapes, taking them from lines to layering through the line, and then graduation. You know, and the students that I heard back from all had a solid time. Susie over there, you were in that class, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what'd you think?
It was awesome.
Awesome. And then, you know, the next day he did a professional day, where that's where we open the class up to outside industry professionals. And he did his new class called Cut and Dressed, which was super cool. You know, Gerard, as you guys may or may not know, has began to challenge himself more so within the industry. Thank you, Josh. Josh is my pillow fluffer today. Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Commentator,
Cowboy, water boy. So anyway, he did his new class, Cut and Dressed, which, you know, focused on some really solid advanced razoring work, and then went into some editorial styling. And that's what, you know, he has been challenging himself with and learning a new part of the craft and getting into more styling and so forth. And it was a really great class, really cool. And it was really cool to watch him work his hands in that way, you know. Coming down the pike here.
Do you get into much hairdressing? Did you ever get into it then?
Did I ever? I got into it a little bit. You know, yeah, I'd like to get into it more so. But yeah.
We need to have a competition. That would be the worst hair competition ever. You and me
battling the styles, right?
Even do a French twist, man. Fingers get all tied up in there.
Dude, yeah. Braiding, I can't braid. And make comments about that.
I want to.
I've always just kind of like, you know, thought of myself as more of a hair cutter, focused on it. Although I really do love to talk about hair color, and I love to teach hair color because of the way it makes your brain work, you know. But the application of it for me, I'd rather spend my time cutting hair. Okay. Coming down the pike, we have Andrew Carruthers. Andrew Carruthers out of Salt Lake City, which I'm really excited about. He'll be out February 16th and 17th, I believe, just after Sweethearts Day, Valentine's Day. And he's doing a modern foundations class with us. He'll do a day with the students and a day with the professionals. And then the next big thing, which I'm super stoked about, is the Araujo West Coast Summit. And that's when Nick and 8 of his team members, a master stylist, will be out. And they're doing a 2-day event where they're going to do a large runway show. And I'm super stoked on that because my team at AJF, we get to kind of open it up. And I made the reference back to, you know, I love music. I played lots of music growing up. And I share the same story over and over for the people who hang out with me. So they'll hear it 100 times. And it was always like, you know, a huge pleasure, like if the tour, like a big touring band was coming through town, and oh yeah, that felt good. And your band got to open up for them, you know. So this is to me, like, you know, I'm the opening band, and I get to open up with my team, you know, to the Araujo, you know, master stylist crew. So AJF's going to do a short but very impactful opening presentation before Nick and his team comes out and just blows up the stage. And then the following day, that's going to be, well, that's a Sunday evening, March 2nd. That's going to be just a very high impact, energy driven evening. And then that Monday, Araujo's offering, I believe there's like 8 different classes that you can take, from everything like razor fundamentals to razor advanced, to I think just classic scissor cutting, to taking an American wave class, men's hairdressing, hair painting. I mean, so you can go on to, let's see, you can go onto Araujo's website, or you can go on to ajfsalon.com and go into our blog area and see the flyer for that evening posted there. Look at that. I'm just so caught up in the talking, I just came over here and grabbed the wrong color comb. I'm looking for a barbering comb. There we go. So, go back to my scissor comb. I went in with the Sessibon, the wide teeth, to go in quickly and to remove out, you know, the mass and the bulk of hair, and to begin to establish shape. And then I came back in with the fine teeth to begin to refine my shape and to sit it in a little bit cleaner and tighter. Now I'm going to come back in with my barbering comb because of the flexibility within it, and just really take the hair around the hairline nice and tight and refine it even that much more so. Josh, he'll know this gentleman's name. Mark, who taught at Sassoon, older Mark, bald-headed. Mark. What?
Was it Beeson?
No, was it Mark? Come on, somebody who knows Mark's last name. I think he moved over to Asia, was teaching out there for a while.
Not John Guest.
John Guest. Why did I get Mark?
Okay, I don't know why you got Mark.
That's why I got Mark. I don't know. John Guest taught me this trick, and it's one of those tricks that I always really enjoyed. And I use it when you're working around, you know, this, I'm a righty, so when I'm working around the right-hand corner, around this ear, and you can also use it in this area on this left-hand side. So typically if I'm working this left ear, I've got the comb, yeah, to protect the ear from being cut, but if you're ever like skeptical about it, and like I said, it works better on that right-hand side. And even though I'm not going to scissor or comb that, I just show you how to do it because I think it's a useful tool to do. But you just take the scissor, where's the comb, take the scissor out of your hand, so now it's just like laying flat in my hand, and then position the scissor, now hold it if you can. Now I'm holding it not within my finger, but my, call it my ring finger on my right hand and my middle finger, and then still orchestrating the scissor with my thumb. But what it does is it completely is repositioned the scissor. All right, so if I was to hold it normal, the scissor would be like so, coming up. By doing this, so I'm like backhand cutting it. And keeps now the bulk of the scissor away from the ear, and I'm just kind of utilizing that tip. But like I said, when you're working around the right-hand corner, it's an excellent area to use it, because I have made the mistake where I'm working the right-hand corner doing some scissor over comb. You get caught up in talking and conversation like I am now, and I completely like lopped off the top of this dude's ear. And he wasn't a dude, he was a doctor. And he was a family friend doctor, which made it even worse. And it's one of those things where I lopped it off, and I was like, oh, I feel like I just cut his ear. And then I just touched his ear, and the thing started like gushing blood. And he's like, did you cut my ear? And I was like, yeah. And he looked at it, and like literally like he was missing like just the chunk of his ear. And he got up out of his chair, and he started looking around on the ground for the missing chunk of ear. And he found it, and he picked it up and put it in a tissue, and he goes, well, his office was right down the street. He goes, I'm going to take it back to my office and glue it back on.
So it was like a tangible chunk of ear.
It was a tangible chunk of ear, man.
Like, would it have weight? Like,
oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. Yeah, but it was gross. And definitely, like, when I saw him, 5 or 6 weeks later, well, I mean, before I even go there with the story, the next thing he started questioning me on was, how clean are your tools? How clean's your scissor? And they were actually a brand new Hikari Cosmos, and I think I only had them. I'm like, oh yeah, they're brand new. I clean them after every use, la-di-da-da-da, right? And
so you lied.
I lied. I told a white one, give me a break. So, yeah.
It was more for his peace of mind.
It was, like, seriously.
Hey, I don't know, if I was missing a chunk of ear, I'd rather someone, not tell me the truth.
Right? Just finishing this up. Okay. Okay. Now I'm gonna come in and clean this up, put a little bit of line. But anywho, yeah, he took it down to his office, glued the thing back on. I saw him like 5 weeks later, and safe to say he told me not to scissor over comb him, but to go get a clipper.
Nice.
Right? Yeah, you can use the clippers. I don't want to be, and he still comes in and he gets clipper down. So now I'll come back in. It's gonna tighten this all up. Shut up and focus for a minute as I get near the ear.
Now that you're talking about cutting off ear.
And then come back up and around the back of the ear. Any questions coming through yet?
Not yet.
Somebody give me a question.
15 viewers live, so.
All right, hey.
Not bad for our first shot.
No, first time. I've done lots of teaching, from a classroom to a platform, but never to a camera like this. So.
It's weird. It's like you're some insane person talking to an invisible audience.
It actually feels quite normal for me. Just like standing in a room talking to myself, and I've always said, the most intellectual conversations are the ones I usually have with myself. So, oh man. Anyway.
No one's going to disagree with you. So.
Right? I think that's it. Okay. So I got to say, I'll take this chance to say hello to the home viewers of Gianni and Sienna, because I know they're watching, my little boy and girl. Then I guess my wife, just to be a nice guy all the way around. But Daddy's working late tonight. All right. I'll come back to that, possibly. We'll take a look when everything's finished. I like to do that with scissor over comb. It's one of those things when, like I said, this is more technique, not haircut driven. When you're so in depth on something like this, it's good. You got to step away and you got to walk away, readjust the eyes, refocus, come back into it, and take a secondary look, a tertiary look, and so forth. I always like to have a glass of water at my station. not just to stay hydrated, because I believe, you know, that's a huge part in doing hair. We're up on our feet all day. A lot of us don't really get a chance to stop and eat through the day. Good, just got great texture. I'm done. Let's go put a little product in there, I'm done. Seriously though, no. So water, and you know, the water for me, it keeps me going, it keeps me hydrated, but it's gives me a moment to pause and to think and to recollect where I'm at. And if I'm ever in a haircut and I get caught up with something, you know, undecided of where I may want to like go with it, where I'm going to transition off into the next panel, rather than just standing away from the client and, you know, doing just go and grab a glass of water, have a sip of water, and think about like where I'm at, where I'm going to go with it, and then go back into it. But yeah, scissor over comb's one of those things where I'll get so like enthralled and so in depth to like what I'm doing that I'll want to step away, readjust my eyes for one, you know, focus on something 6 to 8 to 10 feet away, and then come back into it and take a look where I have left off and reassess, or even go into a different panel of the haircut and come back to it. Who's to say you can't? Whatever's going to keep you focused. So, her color, up until about 45 minutes ago, was a extremely faded out coppery red color, about a level, I'm going to call it a 7 and maybe an 8 on the ends, and then it was like a 7 in some areas to a 6 in some areas. It just really lacked depth, and it lacked, you know, it lacked depth, and it lacked tone, and it lacked brilliance. All those lovely words we say to our clients to sell them hair color. And we used a color conditioner quickly because Isela is a future cosmetologist of America, is what I like to call them. She's a student here at Federico, so she got out of school at, today for me, she got out at 5 o'clock. And we needed to get some prep on her done really quickly. So we used these really cool color conditioners by a company called Artis. And it's a small color line, very boutique-y color line. And we used a mixture. Actually on this panel here, which was brown, I used a mixture of one called the Caco, which is cocoa, and cacao. And the other one was, and that was mixed with a little bit of the brown just to create a really nice, deep, rich, kind of balanced brown. And then the coppery tones we see running through the hair, I did a mixture of the curry and the copper, mixed pretty much like 50-50. And we put that on her hair, and that's what was sitting on her hair if you saw the pre-game, the pre-show, while she was getting her makeup done. And then Susie took her back and just gave her a really nice tepid rinse. And that was that. We prepared the hair with some shampoo, did the conditioners, and it just really reinstated the tone of the hair, gave it some really nice luster and shine for the evening. Okay, so she's primarily like very heavy up in this top crown area. And that's where I'm going to focus in on, thanks Josh, kind of loosening this up and layering it through. I don't want to take too much bulk out of this bottom nape because I don't want my shape to bevel in to the occipital too much so, just with fear that it will begin to look almost moldedy and possibly bi-levelly. So I want to keep the substance there. And then after the fact, if I diffuse it and I feel like it's still a little heavy, I can freehand cut into some of that. But I just want to exercise and utilize the plie, feather plie through this crown area, just to, like I say, loosen this up. So as we come in and diffuse it, you know, that curl just kind of comes back to life a little bit more so. So I am going to work on some basic diagonal back shaped subsections. And then I'll clip this out of the way. All right, that's nice. And I'll find my plie blade. The trick to working with the plie, number one trick, or using a razor, is just a nice even moisture saturation. I don't want to make it where it's, you know, overly saturated. Because actually, as I cut from subsection to subsection, I want to be able to see the texture come to life. This is where Josh is going to yell at me, like, get your elbows up, get them down. Let's see.
Razor gun.
Yeah, so I'm going to have you tilt your head to that right. I'll take the hair. Just going to begin to drag it down. Yeah, and I'm just kind of looking through the hair, you know, looking to see where the weight needs to be taken out. I'm going to begin going in and just tipping through the hair, creating space, which is going to allow movement for the hair to breathe. When I say breathe, just to come to life, you know, and putting that space in the hair is going to obviously put in some short to long progressions of length, so it creates more dimension through the haircut. And like I say, it's just going to allow it to come to life a little bit more. And I don't want to be a liar, and I tell you I'm not going to razor too heavily down into that occipital, but I need to make sure that I'm balanced as far as my weight goes from, you know, the upper region of the head and that crown area down into the occipital. So come back in. So I'm keeping my blade almost like flat to the shaft of the hair, you know. If this is the shaft, I don't want to go straight in and like scrape down it. I always say, like, if the spine of my comb is the shaft of the hair, I don't ever want to go like perpendicular into that shaft and cut with the razor. It's almost like flat to it. And you can use the tip, or you can begin to use more of the blade, just depending on the effect that you're trying to create. And you know, etching down it, if you will. Etching, that's not a good word. I don't even know where that one came from, but I'm going to use it for the moment. But right now I'm using just the tip of the blade and just creating that space back through there. And I think the big part is in the transition from that short side to this back, I got to get some nice little short pieces just behind that ear at the mastoid, so the transition begins to sit like soft and seamless. And I can begin just to kind of push the shape in. It's got this really nice wave that's just kind of beveling right there. Looking at my length and say, I'm cool with that, I'm happy, I'll move on. I'm going to take now my subsequent subsection, just right in with the previous.
Dave83 asks, how long did it take you before you stopped cutting the hell out of your fingers?
No way, Dave. I cut it all the time. No. Let's see. Let's see. That's a hard one to answer. Just practice, practice, practice. I'll notice that if I set the plie down, which I generally don't ever set the plie down. It's one of my favorite tools to use. And yeah, pick it back up like a week later. I notice it when I'll go on vacation and don't cut hair for a week. I'll pick it up, and the first haircut, the thing like jumps out and bites me like an alligator. You know, it's one of those things. It's just practice, and these things come with a guard that slips over the blade, and I highly recommend learning and practicing with the guard. And then you can begin just to like scoop the guard off and slide it off, and just to begin to use some of the tip, and then to expose more of the blade as you're beginning and learning how to use it. You know, Gerard was actually the first one to teach me how to use the plie. Beforehand, I always have cut with a razor, like from beauty school. It's like one of my favorite things, but it was always that stick razor, you know, and the motions were much different. You're using more of your arm, and you really don't have as much mobility to move as fluidly through the hair as you do with the plie. So picking up this tool is really, like, you know, as they'll say, it's really kind of taken my work and made me fall back in love with it, because it puts a different like breath on the hair. A breath, what a weird reference. But, you know, it puts different life onto the hair, for one, and you're able to get in and kind of carve through the hair a little bit more, I guess, you know, freely, at will. Dave, I hope I answered your question, buddy. Thank you for it. Let's get another one. Susie, do you have a question? So the idea of Federico Advanced on the live streaming is I will be, hosting a lot of the shows, but it is definitely going to be a time and an opportunity for me to get my team from AJF some FaceTime in front of the camera to share their passion and what they may specialize in within the industry, as well as we want to utilize it when we have an artist traveling through, that we can do, even though we talked about doing every other Thursday evening, that we can do maybe a special Monday evening if we've got I know when Douglas comes through, we're gonna get Douglas on here, right? Oh yeah, and we'll do some special evenings with some of the traveling artists. You may not know it yet out there, but this is built into your contract that you have not signed yet. So yeah, we're gonna kind of use this, the power of the internet, the power of live streaming, just to share as much wealth and as much knowledge from as many different hairdressers as we possibly can. Because like I said, that's what Federico Advanced is about. Okay, just coming through. And I'm kind of pulling all these sections perpendicular, if you will, to the subsection line, looking through it. When I'm sitting higher up into the crown of the head, I'm pulling it off the head more. Same principles, elevating it up off the head a little bit more to release a little bit more weight out. As I begin to hit down into this lower crown area, high occipital, I begin to drag it down, right? Same principles apply, so a lower elevation to build up more weight. And the thing about razor cutting, it's cool, is you don't need to use elevation up here to create your layering, because it can be just created within the stroke of the razor and going through the shafts of the hair. So it's actually a lot more comfortable at the end of the day, because most of your body work has been within your center core. Here, you're not doing a lot of layered cutting up here. I can pull long hair out and just begin razoring down the shaft and create the same type of layering, if you will, as if I were to have to direct it up, and then I've got a really inverted finger position cutting, like a concave layer or something of that sort. So, and to me, longevity within the industry is huge. So I always want to try to practice, the best posture I can through the day, so at the end of the day I can see the next one. And I always say, and this is built into my basic manual when I hire a junior stylist or an assistant, it's a little exercise has never hurt anyone. And that being said, it's just because, man, you're on your feet all day. A lot of us now are working on concrete floors, possibly without pads. You're bending with your knees, hopefully not with your back. And it's just physically exhausting as well as mentally exhausting from, client to client every hour. So if you want to have obviously longevity within this industry, you just got to practice a few different things, a little exercise. I used to go on morning walks all the time and try to hit about 4 or 5 miles in with my wife and kids, just at a nice brisk pace. And it was a good way to clear your mind to start the day, but it just began to make you limber for the day.
We have a question from Taylor Brown.
Taylor Brown.
What color line do you guys usually use?
In the salon, we use 2 different color lines. We use, like I say, Artiste, which is that small boutique line, and we also use Goldwell. And to be honest, I have used almost every color line under the rainbow in my 14 years of owning the salon. And I've got a really great relationship with both of those companies right now, and their product performs beautifully. So that's, at the end of the day, that's what I'm looking for out of my color line. Is I'm looking for a relationship, for one, somebody that's just not trying to sell me a bunch of, shit, if you will, excuse my language. And then number 2 is something that performs, man, and something that's simple and easy, and that's not overly complicated, trying to reinvent the wheel. Okay, coming back in on my right side. Flip that away.
And just a reminder, if you guys want to ask questions, go ahead and type into the YouTube comments on the show page where you're watching this. Or if you're watching it on the front page of HairBrain, thank you, hairbrain.pro, you can tweet to us at Federico ADV, Federico Advanced. So, but Twitter won't let us fit in advanced. So it's Federico ADV for all your Twitter questions.
Okay, so coming back up in on that right. Yeah, I knew I was going to hit it on my right side.
Just turn the face into me.
Yep.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. So coming back in on this right side, same principles, pulling that hair up and out. Now as I begin to hit at the ear, I want to just put in some shorter pieces around there so my transition point's not as, I'm going to say, as goofy and as weird. So it's got this small, like, you know, short to long progression, and as well as everything's nice and seamless floating downward. I've got this weird, like, theory on hair and my own philosophical approach, and it's called, you know, I think it came to me in my early 20s as we're all out on that spiritual quest, right? Here I go.
Come spirit walk with me.
Here I go.
Come find the Lizard King.
Exactly. And this was turned on to me, and I was reading a lot of, like, you know, weird, you know, not weird, I was reading a lot of, like, the Tao Te Ching and, like, you know, Zen Buddhism and all the, you know, different types of whatever. I was on my spiritual quest, if you will. And I ran across this, I guess you can call it a philosophy, and it's called Wabi-sabi. Wabi-sabi. And Wabi-sabi is like the Japanese art in finding the beauty in imperfect things. And I read this book that was called Wabi-sabi, I think it was Wabi-sabi for Artists, Philosophers, and Poets. And it really, like, spoke to me in the sense of, like, how I approach, you know, my craft. And I've always, like, you know, I've always loved recognizing the imperfect and finding the perfect within it, because it's like, as humans, I know no matter how perfect we all think we are, none of us are perfect, right? And no head of hair is perfect, and no curl is perfect, whatever it might be. So it's taking something that's imperfect and trying to make it perfect and beautiful, if you will. It's not trying to make it perfect, but just recognizing the imperfections within it, and recognizing, like, the imperfections within just life surrounding you. And the best analogy would be, like, you know, there's a way you could look at something. You can be driving down, you know, an old country road. You can see like a dilapidated barn, if you know, and you could look at that barn and you could be like, wow, what a piece of shit. Like, the owner needs to, like, burn that thing down, or, you know, just bulldoze it over. Or you could look at it and recognize the beauty in, like, the rustic wood and how the barn has collapsed itself on top of each other, or and the beams are now supporting itself, and just kind of looking at it in a whole different view. And I've taken that, and it's a hard one to teach because it's more like of a headspace for myself, but it's just, you know, how I look at hair. So if something's not matching up perfectly, but I think it looks good, I'm running with it. Anyway, now off my spiritual journey, coming back through. And just finishing up this crown area, then we'll move into that front. This is fun, Josh. Thanks for hooking this up, man.
Yeah.
I used to watch Josh when he was hanging out in his basement in San Diego, thinking, like, dude's crazy, man. I think the first thing I ever saw that guy do was, like, I don't even know how I ran across it, was that Bob Ross video. And I kid you not, I think I went to work the next day and I dragged, like, it was So when Andy was an assistant, now using names, nobody knows. And I was like, I dragged all my assistants in. It was a Tuesday morning. I'm like, oh my God, you gotta check this dude out. He's hilarious, man. And they're just like, dude, what are you doing? What are you watching?
Who's Bob Ross? Like, there's a total age wall there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Where people are like, what?
Like, come on, you know the artist with the afro.
Oh, Happy Little Trees.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Oh man.
Way old man.
So just continuing through, putting in that space. You notice that, you know, as I'm working through the hair, like my approach and my discipline is, it's very structured. Like my subsections are very clean. I'm not working with anything of what some may call a condensed cutting method. The distribution of the hair within my hand is extremely clean. And as I'm coming in and I'm cutting, you know, the space within the hair, it's very methodical as far as the amount of space from, you know, every short to long to short to long. And, you know, there's definitely like that balance to it that, you know, what I'm trying to say here. I'm just not picking up the razor and hacking at it. And I think that's what a lot of people, their misconception is, they got the razor, they just want to start picking up hair and like shredding it apart. You know, I think to be a good razor hair cutter, there's art, there's a beauty. Art and beauty to it by all means. I think this is getting to be a really cool shape, how it's beginning to now cut like that occipital area. And then it's not real stringy down here, but it's got some nice substance still. It's still a little bit heavy right here. So I'm just gonna go back through that center, because, you know, obviously I worked some over direction on diagonal backs to corner. So I'm obviously gonna wind up with some weight right here. Be like the same principles if you were to be like cutting like a firefly or like round graduation. You're gonna have that weight line in the center. And I wanna keep some of that, but I wanna dismiss some of it as well. So, you know, there's obviously the exaggerated corner, but now I'm going to come right back through it and just open it up so it doesn't sit so heavy right into that center. And do a little bit of planing.
Work that a little bit.
Yep.
There we go.
Cool. And then I'll come back in with another one up on top here. And as I move up into this top area, I'm going to just really drag that down. So I don't want to sit the layer too high up. A little bit of tipping through, very methodically, and then a little bit of planing. Just a little bit. There we go. So it's kept that shape, but I just lost that, call it that fatness that was sitting to that center. Okay. Cool, cool, okay. Moving off into the sides. So, as I move into the sides, I need a little bit of more water, which is in my pocket. I'm gonna begin to now just work pivotally, moving forward, over directing everything back. So I retain that length in that front corner, and I begin to transition with like a soft kind of like triangular shaped A-line interior. Moisten it down. This is like a 2-for-1, man. I'm getting a suntan back here from these halogen lamps.
And a facial.
And a facial, yeah. All right.
And Brian asked,
yeah.
What's a firefly?
What's a firefly? A firefly is, you know, the iconic classic Sassoon haircut. That's round graduation. I suggest Googling Sassoon firefly, and you know, it's where it's a short graduated shape, and I think in classic purist form it was cut pretty much like at a high cheekbone, and then as it began to wrap down back and around, sitting the weight line, you know, just above the occipital of the head, building up this really nice shape. You know, you can reference people in the 70s or in early 80s,
Hamill.
Dorothy Hamill, right?
Yeah, she was the pioneer.
That's the, you know, that's the reference there. Dorothy Hamill. Who's Dorothy Hamill? Was she
That's the next
was she an ice skater?
She was an
Oh, ice skater. Okay, so now.
Ross, who's Dorothy Hamill? Man, we're pulling for the old crowd tonight.
Right. So now I'm just beginning to work down from these short crown bits, connecting in the layer first, and just tipping through the mid shafts. And like I said, I want to keep as much of that length as possible, and as I begin to work down into the bottom perimeter, keep that elevation and drop it down nice and low. Cool. And then another pivotal section, working from it. And Josh, you can tell me if those sections are looking nice and clean up there, if I need to clip them up in a way.
Yeah, they're good.
Okay, good. Bringing it back, over directing it to, you know, just behind the ear at that mastoid area. And then I'll come back in.
Watch your elbow a little bit, drop it if you can.
Yeah. Come back through. Okay, open that up. And then coming back in, connecting in that layering down in that bottom perimeter line. Cool. Now just kind of working visually. So as I'm doing this, I'm beginning just to kind of push that curl up, looking for that A-line internal shape. And you can begin to see it with the transition of the layer from that short crown just gradually getting longer, as well as I'm making sure that all those layers are kind of like floating seamlessly through the shape of the head. This one should be split in two. And let's see, what else is coming down the pike, Federico Advanced? So I talked about Arrojo in March. April, I think we go quiet for the month. May, we pick back up with, I've got a calendar. The Teals? Is it the Teals? No, it's Russell May. Russell May will be here May 19th. And then we've got Douglas McCoy coming back in June. And the Teals in July. The Teals, be ready for some heat. We'll do a swimming party.
Yeah, right.
Over Gary's. So, and then after that, I think we've got people like Sally Rogerson coming back up in September. I think DJ, we're trying to get DJ Muldoon on the calendar. We're trying to lock down a date still right now with DJ. He's been up before. Sally's been up before, but on a student level, never with the professionals. So we're really excited to have Sally back with us. And really, you know, I'm always looking for suggestions on artists that you would like to learn from. And, you know, like I believe in kind of curtailing our calendar to you, because obviously you're the people that are going to make it happen. So if you have any artists that you would like to learn from, please comment below, Facebook us, find us anywhere on any of our social platforms and send me a name. I mean, trust me, I'm an idealist, not a realist. And I've got crazy, lofty ambitions, so help me make them come to life.
Can we get David Lee Roth?
Awesome.
Yeah?
Awesome.
All right.
David Lee Roth doing Panama in the center of the theater underneath the globes.
Doing Panama karaoke because Eddie's too expensive.
That was my first concert, David Lee Roth and Poison. And my dad took me, it was like my 6th grade graduation. Let me tell you, I just remember he came out on the surfboard going through the center of the crowd doing Panama. It was awesome, David Lee Roth.
Van Halen with?
No, this was David Lee Roth, like Skyscraper. No, it was David Lee Roth, it wasn't Van Halen, I wish. I'm not that old. I'd been a young dude doing that. Okay, so I'm gonna come back to that. So now I'm going to begin to come through in this front and begin to work diagonally across that triangular shaped section I had and begin to open this up. And like I said, now I'm extremely excited to use these. Once again, if you want to spoil yourself like I do, and I did, HairBrain.pro, the Nick QX, this is the scissor. This is like the scissor of scissors. I'm trying to think of all day. This is like the Cadillac, the Norton Commando 850. You know,
You were gonna make a motorcycle.
I had to make a motorcycle reference. It's like an old cafe reference, you know, of the old Vincent of Scissors. So they're, you know, they're a pretty penny, but they're worth every penny. So get on. They've got limited supplies on these.
They're the good ones too.
They're the good ones.
The real ones.
If they weren't the good ones, I'd be upset.
I got a pair of the not so good ones, and I'm mad about it still.
Yeah, he's trying to swap mine out. Like I wouldn't notice.
You can be like, wow, I don't really like these anymore. They got really dull. The tension screw gets rid of those.
Okay. All right. I need a haircut and comb. Okay. Go back in. Back to our proud sponsors of HairBrain, the transparent ruby YS. This is a 339, right? The YS 339, I believe. Exclusive HairBrain colors. You're gonna make our sponsors proud, Josh.
Exactly.
You know. And if any of you guys are watching this on YouTube and not on HairBrain, you should be watching on HairBrain. And if you're not part of that community, be part. It's where all the cool kids hang out. Everyone's doing it. Everyone's doing it. How about a little peer pressure for you? Okay. So I'm going to reference now a cheekbone, a low cheekbone, because this is curly. So by the time I'm done, I'd like for it to pop up and hit that cheekbone. So I'm going to go low. I am taking this down, pretty much hit natural full, and shifted my finger so it's now going into a short to long shape. Cut that through. And I'm going to continue this line through, down. Okay. And I'm going to work through that triangular shaped subsection on those diagonals. And bringing it back down, natural fall. Make sure I can see my guideline below. Cut. Do the previous. These scissors are so bad. Like butter. Okay. Continuing through. I don't want this to be kind of heavy. Obviously, she's got that curl, so once it's diffused, it'll naturally lighten up. And I'm going to continually work this down a natural fall, but as I begin to work into my subsequent subsections, I'm going to put a little bit more tension on the hair, so that's going to help just kind of take some weight off that bottom edge and create some springiness through it. Down.
If you wanted the front to be lighter, what could you do?
What would I do? I would begin elevating up. Like if I wanted this to be lighter, I would take my first one at natural fall and begin just kind of doing some natural elevation through each one. Or if I wanted to be lighter with the scissor still, I can just come back through and do my line and then come back in, and maybe I'd come back through this way and then layer through it. But what would you do, Josh? That's what I love about cutting hair. We all have to do something a little bit different, but may get to a very similar place.
If I wanted it to be lighter, yeah, I'd probably go with the higher elevation.
Yeah.
And if I wanted it to be softer, I'd probably pull it more. Like
Pull it more, over-direct it back more a little bit. Yeah.
Twist it behind my back.
Twist it behind your back.
I wanted it to be wispy.
Wispy.
I would twist it behind my back.
Wispy.
Man, I get that right.
I'll pick that up. And as I just cut through, I'm being very good tonight about not cutting past that second knuckle because, not because of the theory of cutting past it, but because I know these scissors are sharp, and the last thing I want to do is snip myself on camera. I probably will now because I said that.
But think of the ratings. You gotta do it in bleeding all over the blade.
Bring your head back a little bit, sweetie. Perfect.
It's like a Cannibal Corpse video. It's great. Yeah.
Maybe this could be like war. We could have like Susie back there throwing stuff at us. You know, an old,
that would be awesome.
Old Gwar concert. Some old like Paul Mitchell gel or something. Squirting it at us.
I'm totally okay with that idea.
Next week.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I think what may have caused this whole idea about Federico Advanced Independent is I've always been a huge proponent of not following one set discipline, one set theory, one set religion, or anything like that, you know. I like to pick and choose from things of what I like and then create my own. So, you know, for me in like cutting hair and teaching, and I teach my junior stylists in the salon, like I say, you learn their haircuts. You got to learn obviously the classics, the shapes and the techniques, but it's about the techniques. And I always like to reference, I am taking it back, man. I got to talk about Felix the cat. You know, Felix the cat, you guys know that old cartoon, right? Felix the cat, he had something with him that he carried around, and it was his magic bag of tricks. And that's how I kind of feel about like different techniques, from, you know, some cutting with the plie, to back cutting, to stroking, to whatever it might be. Just understanding, you know, each of those techniques, where you can utilize them, what they're going to do for you, just to make you stronger in what you do. And you know, it keeps the craft interesting, I feel like, for yourself from day to day. Because, you know, you can begin to challenge yourself in cutting hair. You know, once you cut a head of hair so many ways, you'll want to start cutting it backwards. Like, okay, well, now I'm going to cut it from the last section typically. Just, you know, let's say if I cut something typically from the back and I work to the front, well, let's see if I can achieve the same thing from the front to the back. And then you can begin, like, you know, challenging yourself and using different techniques to cut it. Just, like I say, to keep your life interesting in the salon.
All right, we have another question from Elena G.
Elena G.
And the question is, do you or Josh ever teach on what steps you take when doing your photo shoots or editorial? And I'm going to ask, do you mean how we actually shoot it and the flashes we put up, or do you mean the hair that we do for the photo shoots? So comment back and I'll answer you.
Okay, so I'm on my last section now, and this last section is obviously going to begin to blend back into some of that side layering. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of elevate this last one up and out, and if there's any last little bits in there, just going to nail them off real quick. And then I think we may go into finishing. But, yep. Should we get an answer back?
Well, I just asked the question.
Is there a lapse?
There's a delay, yeah.
Oh.
Like a 30-second delay, actually.
How's she looking from the front, Susie? Okay. I trust in you. I can't see too much. There's no mirror.
Question from Taylor Brand. What's the link for HairBrain? And it's hairbrain.me. And our videos just up at the top of the page there.
Good for you, Taylor Brown. Get on there.
Thanks for hanging out with us tonight, Taylor.
Yeah, Taylor. Taylor's in the house. Hope to see you back next week. Okay, before I go in and finish, just kind of refine a little bit more.
That's looking awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I like the fringe.
Thanks, buddy. Can't see without the mirror, obviously. I was trying to get glimpses in the monitor over there, but you know, it's only working so well.
Okay, Linda G, hair techniques and tools. Yeah, you wanna?
What is it? Go ahead.
We do a lot of, well, this was the question about do we ever teach the techniques about under photo shoots?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we usually, if you look at the Federico Advanced, we have a bunch of videos there, and we usually take pictures of them. So it's more, do we take pictures of our videos than do we make videos of our photo shoot? So, and we'll be doing a photo shoot after this too, after this cut. So, yeah, more of that. We'll have more of that stuff planned.
Got a class in mind about, Josh, why don't you share about that, you know, build your portfolio or that idea and see if there's any interest out there, you know, just to put it out there into the larger mass of the world.
Yeah, I'll put it out to the internet. One of the things we're thinking about doing is, I found since I've started doing photo shoots, and I have to stand next to you because of the microphone. You're wearing the lapel mic.
I like my cologne.
Yeah, I just like being next to you. One of the things is, like, it's really hard to find, like, a good, like, photographer, you know, that knows how to shoot hair and stuff. So I think one of the things we want to do, actually, is to have a class here at Federico where it's kind of a hands-on class, and then at the end of the class, like, you bring models and stuff like that, and then after the class, we do a photo shoot and give you guys a couple different looks of your models and that kind of thing. So it's kind of like a portfolio builder class, because, you know, you don't want to hang, like, pictures of other people's work on your wall from product companies and stuff. So yeah, it'd be a good way to, you know, kind of get your work out there and print it and that kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah.
So if you guys are interested in that, leave a comment in the comments below, or reach out to us on our Facebook or Twitter, and all the little Facebook, Twitter things are right there. So
Susan,
let us know.
Can you grab another blow dryer with a nozzle? Thanks. You know, Sacramento. Let's talk about Sacramento. Like, these guys opened up an independent advanced education house in where? Sacramento. Sacramento is about an hour drive on a good day at 3:30 in the morning, about an hour and a half, you know, during the day to San Francisco. And, you know, we're kind of centrally located between San Francisco and Lake Tahoe. You know, our facility is about 10 minutes from the airport. There's really great accommodations very close by. Interesting facts about Sacramento. It's a very cute little city. It's like, you know, kind of developed during the gold rush era. We sit between a couple of rivers, and we've got the second most trees in the world. So there's a lot of trees. And I think that's, honestly,
City of trees.
City of trees. That's why Gerard Lake's coming out, honestly. Oh, the trees. Being a New Yorker, you know. So Sacramento, it's a cool place to come and check out, take a class, you know. To live here, it's not a bad place to live. And you just got to get out and travel every now and again. But I recommend that to wherever the heck you may live. Okay, dokie. And a bobby pin or a pin curl clip. Sorry, you're good. And a business card. you think I'd be prepared?
I would be prepared.
Okay, so another lovely thing. Josh used one last week. These things are excellent. The sock diffuser by YS Park that you can definitely find on hairbrain.pro. It's excellent because I think they go for about like 25 bucks, but this thing is universal because this little sock cap slips right over the blow dryer, then the bungee fastens back around. It's got this little tension bungee and you just tighten it up. And now it can fit your blow dryer or, you know, your client. What'd you plug into last week that I'm not going to blow up?
One of those. I had the extension cord that got stolen. Oh no, it's in the other room. I'll go find it. Yeah, you can plug into that. And then I scooted the chair forward as well.
Oh, okay. Oh, let's see. What am I going to do here if I unplug that? Where's that light go to? Where's this light go to? You gotta. Where's that light go to? This one goes there. This one goes. Nothing went off. It's not going to fit. Okay. Oh well. Let's see. I'll take that and I'll take that. Excellent. Thank you. I'll start here. All right. So the idea of this is I want to keep my front fringe flat to the shape of the head. Kind of 20s-esque. Little C shape around. And I really want that C shape just to kind of sit right at the corner of her eye and open back up. And then I'm going to take business card. I'm going to thank Erica Verrett for that trick. Thank you, Erica. I watch, I learn all the time. Awesome. Thank you. Now I'm going to diffuse this thing with the sock. But I think what's going to dry it faster than the sock are these lights. And nothing like watching a pot boil.
Oh, you can turn it down low and answer a couple questions.
Absolutely.
From David G. Yes, absolutely interested. Do you ever travel to Florida, Keith?
No, but I'm willing to.
Yeah, we'll make it turn out. We'll do that.
What part? Jacksonville? There's lots of good death metal in Jacksonville.
And from Bree Anderson.
Bree! I know you.
What was the spray that you used? It seems like your go-to after you cut. And a follow-up question, actually, what was all that stuff you just used?
Oh, okay. So Bree, to answer your question, I used a little bit of the Arojo Healing Oil, which is a restorative glossing spray. So for these curls, and like I said, our curl is kind of like, you know, get a little dry, a little frizzy, so it's going to help nourish that curl and create more of that kind of like beachy linguid wave to the hair. That's what I misted everywhere through the hair. Then the second thing I put through was a little bit of the, I gotta check because there's a few things over here what I grabbed at. The curl definer by Arojo. And the curl definer is what I worked through this top area, and that's going to help fight some humidity. And it's kind of like a gel mixed with a serum. So think of like a gel serum. It'll give it memory and hold, but make it extremely touchable and soft. And yeah, that's what I put through the hair as of now. And maybe a little bit of hair cream. I think I might have put a little hair cream through the ends, which is like a light leave-in moisturizing type of creme conditioner. Ta-da-da-da.
I have a question. So, generally, you think of diffusing on people with curly hair. You diffuse people with wavy hair.
Yeah, I diffuse people with wavy hair all the time. If their hair's not stick straight and they got a little bit of bend in it, and that's what I want to see, I'll diffuse it. Absolutely. And I use a diffuser on guys' hair quite a bit. Like somebody who's got maybe short croppy hair. I'll push the hair into shape, and you know, then just whether it's with a pomade or something, then I'll put the diffuser on and I'll just kind of set the product in the hair. Anytime I want to dry the hair, but without the airflow like hitting it too hardly, just to diffuse it, I'll pick it up and use it. And there's been times when I've even used it to diffuse straight hair. Just on somebody who has like maybe baby fine hair and I cut like a really short fringe, and if I come with it without the diffuser and blow dry it, might just like blow dry out too quickly, so I'm using the diffuser to control my blow drying time. So coming back on it, maybe blow drying it with a comb. I've done that before, so with me there's really no rules. The thing about the diffuser is just kind of like do one of these. Stand there, talk. I generally like, you know, pass it to my assistant. Go check a couple emails or something like that. How about another question? That's all we got? Susie, you got a question? Susie, you want to come up here and diffuse? She says no.
So I just on off the diffuser. Already.
No. If you want to grab actually another diffuser, I've got another sock diffuser, feel free, grab it, and that way we can get this thing done in twice the time. So the trick with me with diffusing is, you know, I don't want to touch the hair too much. The more you touch the hair, the frizzier it's going to get, the more possibility you have as far as breaking the curl. And generally I want to go like down the shaft or down the cuticle layer of the hair to seal back down that cuticle layer. Unless I'm looking for something that's, you know, the end result is meant to be kind of blown out, a little bit frizzy. And I don't know where we're going to plug that bad boy in, but we're going to try it. Let's see the end of that. That one might be able to go upside down onto that plug. Or on, I don't know. No? Well, you get an A for effort. This something we got to think about is just a little bit more electrical. No, I don't want to chance it at this moment. Right. And the show goes dead.
Oh, we got a question.
A tweet.
Via text. Right there. And
who's that say?
It says Andy Bates.
Andy Bates?
Ask him how he got so cute. LOL. And don't say it was me.
Andy, I guess I get cute for you. To work next to you every day. Andy. Couldn't have a serious question come from Andy. It's gotta be something of a smart ass. That's why we keep him around. Good fella. Jenny, you wanna come diffuse? I'm gonna go drink some water.
Hi, I'm Federico. I'm diffusing. First thing we're gonna do, first order of business, we're gonna enlarge. We're gonna double the size of the photo studio.
Yeah.
Other thing, I just want to make an announcement. Joshua Flowers is my perfect employee. I've never actually ever had an employee this awesome before. He's truly an avatar of the hair industry that we should all. Oh, hi, you're back.
An avatar.
the first time I've been an assistant in like
yeah.
years.
Hold on.
What?
You're doing it wrong.
Sorry.
Thanks, assistant.
Wow, thanks for destroying my self-esteem.
Yeah. No.
I'm gonna go cry in the corner now.
Okay, we're almost there. How come your diffusing like went twice as fast as mine? Let's try this front area a bit.
We have a question
Yep.
from Alina Lisa All Nothing. I don't know how to read that.
Okay.
Have you ever used it? Do you like TG copyright color?
I have never used TG color, no, so I can't give you anything about that, so no, sorry. I guess now you made me a liar when I said I've pretty much used everything under the sun as far as hair color goes. All right, it's feeling good. Feeling good. I'm feeling anxious to be done diffusing. But I want to keep my blow dryer out just in case I want to hit that fringe. All right. Now just kind of hitting it with the nozzle, smoothing this out. That feels good. It feels good. And on this hair texture, I definitely don't want to like dry it 100% because I think it may become a bit frizzy. So before I take that little postcard out, I'm going to come back in with a little bit more hair cream, which is going to give it a little more moisture. Just kind of give it a really kind of like soft, supple, slept-in curl. So a yay bit, and the hands really well. And then I'm just going to come back up and let's push that shape up in there. Feels good. Feels good. Kind of push those curls out and around. And a little bit more. Jenny, do you have any questions? We're taking questions.
You know, I was just loving watching. I've never used a diffuser in
No.
my entire life.
What?
So I'm learning something.
See? Learning something every day.
Educate.
And Jenny's not even a hairdresser. She's my lovely front desk gal that does awesome clothing stuff at what? Victims and Villains?
Victims or villains.
Victims or Villains.
Basically.
.com?
Etsy.
Etsy.
That's Etsy right now. Or on Facebook.
Or on
That's my
Facebook.
page.
Victims or Villains.
And if you guys look at the video that we did with Jess Stump a couple weeks ago on our YouTube here, Jenny did all the wardrobe for those
A little
videos.
I did.
gold hairspray.
What's that?
The gold hairspray, Prim. Okay, so I'm just gonna get a little hairspray and we're gonna finish her up. And this is a little bit more hair cream. So Josh asked me if I do a lot of like, you know, editorial styling, you know. This might be Adam getting in and doing some styling. Awesome, thank you, madame. So a little bit of just a nice, light, workable spray. Hold that up. Keep those closed.
I have a question about refining and razor cutting for you.
You got it.
Do you find, wow, that looks amazing, by the way, Adam.
Thanks, buddy.
Do you find that when you do a razor cut, that you don't really need to go back and do any texturizing or refining?
Awesome question. Thank you very much for asking. You know, generally when I do a razor cut, depending on what I'm looking for out of the hair. A lot of the times I'll go through and I'll create my shape and my technique with the razor, but I'll a lot of times go back through it and then I'll just go through the haircut the same way as I cut it and check the ends. And I'll check the ends with the tip of a scissor and just kind of point cut any like really extreme loose bits off. And I've got a theory about this, and it is that, you know, a lot of times in the salon, if you pick up a razor, your client's reaction may be like, oh no, I don't want you to utilize that, you know, razor on my hair, and it's because they've had a bad razor haircut. Or it's been because there's been a hairstylist who did not know how to utilize the razor, and they've pretty much talked that client out of ever wanting a razor haircut. Okay? But a really bad razor haircut, there's nothing worse in it, because, you know, you'll put their hands through their hair and they'll feel like density at the root, and then as they begin working their hands through their hair, it's like the hair just dwindles and dwindles away, and then when they get to that last little bits of the ends, it's like made up of like 2 or 3 hairs. And the clients are just like, oh my God, what happened to my hair? You shredded it. Or they'll pull the flat iron through the hair and it'll begin like ripping at the ends. So, you know, I generally like to establish my shape and my technique and put that kind of texture in the hair with the razor, but then come back in and point cut it out and refine it through. But tonight I didn't do it because I do want like that looseness through these curls with the razor. As you guys can see, it's kind of just got some really like loose little like dwindly bits. And you just, honestly, you have to know the client. If it's a conservative client, you know, her haircut may be ideal for the razor, but she may not want to feel that texture. But for somebody, oh no, I'm gonna kill it again. Isela. I want to put the L before the S. She's, like I said, a future cosmetologist. She obviously came in with half of her head, or her head, like, you know, shaved out and cut off. So I figured that the looseness and that texture is totally cool with her. And if it's not, she knows where to find me tomorrow or any other day. And I'll point cut those out. So, yeah.
A question from All In, All Is, All Nothing. I still can't, that name, screen name is so confusing. Ever go through a phase of not being able to cut hair?
Yeah, when I broke my arm mountain biking. Not being able to cut hair.
Mental block.
Oh, a creative block.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great question as well. Creative blocks, I've gone through creative blocks where I've been wanting to like cut or create, you know, different like classes or little collections of haircuts for classes, definitely for that. But within the salon, no, because, you know, 80% of the work I do within the salon is long layered haircut, so not there. But I'm just kind of opening that a little bit up. There's a great book, and I was telling Josh about this, I think, last week. It's called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, and the book is written for artists, you know, no matter whatever artist type you may be, and it's about working through creative blocks, and it takes you on a journey of different exercises that you can do every morning, every day at home, you know, just to kind of keep the passages to that creative being of your brain open. So that's a great book to check out. The Artist's Way. Author is called Julia, or her name is Julia Cameron. Cool.
Great tip.
Okay. So I'm gonna unsnap the AJFK. Oh! And then why don't we show some love and support if you'll unbutton that. Nothing looks good under those black capes, yeah, I tell you. Federico!
We need it. Oh, it's still tied at the bottom. There you go. Oh, it's knotted.
Yeah.
You want to stand?
Show off this Federico pride.
Yeah. You want to stand back up with me and step back behind the chair? Cool. So this is definitely like a, you know, little 20s-esque inspired on that front fringe area, but then very modern and kind of edgy as that side's opened up, and you can even see that shape through the back. It's nice and flat, very square, loose, languid, but not too bi-levelly or mullety, and she spins back around. transitions into a nice triangular shaped layer. And then that fringe area, you stay there, sweetie. I'm gonna dust you off a little bit. Yeah. And Robert left, didn't he?
Yeah.
You'll have fun photoshopping all the little flecks of hair out.
I'll have fun photoshopping all that.
Cool.
And if you guys want to stick around, we'll actually be taking pictures of this, so you can see light setups and how I shoot pictures.
Cool.
Which is cool. Yeah.
So to close out the evening, you know, from me to you, thank you very much for tuning in to Federico Advanced live stream. I want to thank again our proud sponsors, HairBrain.me. Check out HairBrain.pro for all of your tool needs. One-stop shop. I can guarantee anything you buy there is of the utmost quality, and every penny you spend is well spent. I'd like to thank my, you know, wonderful model. I'd like to thank Susie. Susie, come on, get a little FaceTime. Susie, there's Susie. She's one of my junior stylists in the salon. She's helping me out this evening. And then, like I say, definitely Mr. Joshua Flowers, Josh Saxo, for putting this all together for us. And, you know, until 2 weeks out, remember, we are on Twitter. I'm looking down to remember all this. At Federico ADV. Federico ADV, okay? Or we're live every first and third Thursday. And then on the second and fourth Thursday, you can find Weapon of Choice with Josh XO. And then I think on that fifth Thursday, if there are 5 Thursdays, we've gone silent. We're going out for a pint. It's pint night.
Oh, it is pint night.
There you go. Yeah. All right. So stick around for a little photo shoot stuff. I'm gonna pull this out of the way.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Yeah, that was a blast.
All right, let's get this. Oh, Jacob, you're still here too.
Yay!
Oh, he just got here.